Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Friday edition of The Sweat presented by DraftKings. I am Emerson Lotzia. A lot to get to this morning. The college bowl season is here, and so is Ben Rasa with his best bets. We're building NBA and NHL lineups together. We've even got Super Bowl champion Sean O'Hara here to tell us just how messed up the New York Giants are right now. But first, let's go. Best bets around the NFL with DraftKings contributors Steve Buchanan, Pierce Dietrich, and RotoWire's Alan Seslowski. Your favorite team to cover the spread this weekend is who, Steve?
Yeah, look, this is liable to change, okay? So this might be a best bet, but just be weary, okay? As it stands at this moment at 11 a.m. Eastern time, give me the Dolphins against the Jets. I mean, come on. I mean, are we really at this point now where the Dolphins shouldn't be favored by double-digit points against the Jets? The Jets have absolutely nothing to go with them, and all the Dolphins are on the COVID list in this one. So if that means we're going to see more of Tua passing the ball against whatever you want to call this secondary, I'm all for it. Give me that all day here. The Dolphins in this scenario should be able to cover with ease at this point. The Jets have some offensive line issues with some injuries there as too. Fant might not play in this game. He's basically taken over the spot for Becton, who went down earlier this season. That means the Dolphins should be able to get more pressure on Zach Wilson, which is never a good scenario for him. Give me Dolphins 9.5.
Dude, they're riding a 5-game win streak right now. 4-0 ATS in the last 4 home games too, Steven. Pierce, what about you, dude?
We'll go with the Packers minus 5.5. And like Steve mentioned, all of this is subject to change. If people don't know or aren't aware, every player in the NFL, NBA, and NHL seems to be going on COVID lists. So you got to stay up to date, make sure that you're following it, because an obvious play may not be obvious on Saturday or on Sunday. So please keep abreast that knowledge. But I like the Packers 11-2 against the spread this year. The only times they didn't cover was that first game of the season where they just completely laid an egg, and then they ran into the buzzsaw that was Kirk Cousins. Other than that, this team has been rolling every phase of the game. They're on top. And then you look at the Ravens, which actually their injuries don't even look as bad anymore when you look across the NFL. But still, the defense, the offensive line, Lamar Jackson's hurt. I just got to take the chalky play and go with the Packers to cover.
All right, Alan, hook me up, dude.
Bills laying 11 at home against the Panthers. The Bills are coming off that short week, but they looked like a top-tier team in the second half against the Bucs. I expect them to crush the Panthers at home. Make sure Josh Allen is playing. I'll, go with that caveat that everyone else is talking about. I think he was confirmed that he's playing and recently as we're recording this. But before you click the button, just confirm that. Love the Bills at home.
All right, let's go game to go over. What's your favorite one, Pierce?
I'm going to go with Jacksonville and Houston over 39.5. This line is just a little too low for me. Both these defenses are bad. It makes more sense to see these lines near 50. I know the offenses aren't great, but they've played better recently. And there's going to be, it's not even really a narrative with James Robinson. He's a good running back. He's averaging more yards per carry. The theory is with Urban Meyer going out, Robinson's going to get pretty much unleashed here. And you look at what Houston did last week. I like Rashad Penny to go for 137 yards. Jonathan Taylor ran all over them. Everybody's running all over them. The Jets trio of running backs, if you can even call them that, hit almost 140 yards against Houston. So I think Jacksonville's definitely going to be able to move the ball. And Davis Mills played decent last week. I think he can probably 331 yards, about 64% completion rate, touchdown, didn't throw any interceptions, a quarterback rating of above 90, gets a decent matchup here against the Jacksonville team that's missing some of their key players on the defensive side. The offenses are better than the defenses in this game, so I don't understand why the number's this low. Go with the over.
Yeah, Carlos Hyde, by the way, was ruled out earlier today for Sunday, so it is it's going to be a James Robinson feast for sure. Steve, what about you, dude?
Yeah, give me Falcons and 49ers at over 46 points. I mean, look, the Niners offense has been rolling. They've scored at least 30 points in 3 of their last 5 games, and now they get a really soft Falcons secondary run defense. Like, you look at the run defense for the Falcons, they've given up exactly 49 rushing yards in 2 straight games. That was against the Buccaneers, who never run the ball to begin with, only 15 times in that game. And the Panthers, who have like an RB3 as their RB1 right now, only ran the ball 14 times in that game as well. Prior to that, 100 yards plus in 6 straight games for opposing running backs against the Falcons. You know, I know the 49ers have some issues with their running backs, but the connection that Garoppolo and Kittle has been having alone, just getting them downfield and putting them in position to score in the red zone. The Falcons really struggle against defending against opposing teams in the red zone. Give me over 46 in this one. They should be going back and forth on the field in this game.
Alan, which game's going over on Sunday or Saturday?
A couple of weeks ago, I would have ordered my own psych evaluation if I said over 39.5 with Houston and Jacksonville, but I'm going to second that one. The dead cat bounce of Urban Meyer is real. Sharp bettors pushed that line from 3.5 to 5. We already said that DK Sportsbook is giving away money, keeping that line at 3.5. But both rookie quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence and Davis Mills, have that chip on their shoulder narrative going for them. Mills is fighting for a starting quarterback life as Houston is presumably going to make a Watson deal this summer, which brings back a quarterback. I think there's sneaky shootout upside here, and I guess not so sneaky since the people that are on this now. But it's a great spot for Lawrence to push back on that bust grumblings that have started to permeate in the darkest parts of the web.
Okay, Alan, let's go complete opposite of that. Give me a game that you like to go under.
Green Bay and Baltimore, 43.5. The line assumes no Lamar Jackson, and Green Bay's defense has had a week to dissect Tyler Huntley. Huntley looked good in middle relief of Lamar. It's similar to when like a third down running back in the NFL gets a high yards per carry, but they're running a 3rd and 15 draw play. Huntley's a decent backup that fits the offense, and I think we could see a plethora of Justin Tucker field goals depressing that total. Rodgers in the offense will undoubtedly score, but this could be a bludgeoning of Baltimore's defense with Dillon and Jones.
Yeah, they were struggling to score with a healthy Lamar, and scoring with a banged-up Lamar is just that much more difficult. Steve, what about you, dude?
I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at over 45 with the Seahawks and Rams. And I go, would I really want to take that over? Give me the under. The Rams have like 30 players on the COVID list right now. Slight exaggeration, but that's what it feels like. The Seahawks only have a couple of guys on the COVID list, but it's two important guys, Tyler Lockett and Alex Collins. So where is the offense going to come from in this game? Seattle has been one of the worst teams in the league at hitting the over anyways to begin with. I just don't see this game getting over 45 points. Feels like a bit of a stretch here. I mean, this could end up being one of those 20-17 games, quite frankly, with the amount of players that both sides is missing here. So give me the under in Seattle and Los Angeles.
Pierce, which game you feeling the under?
Washington and Philadelphia. And part of me, I feel like this is all pretty insane for us to make some of these picks right now, not knowing who's going to play, what side's going to have the defense or offense. But early in the week at 44, I like the under on Washington and Philadelphia. It's only moved to 42.5, despite the fact that Washington has lost 18 players to the COVID list, half of which are starters. They were already short 13 players on the injury reserve to begin with. They didn't really have that great of an offense either. They were only scoring about 50% of the time when they were in the red zone. I just don't see how Washington is going to score whatsoever. Philly might be healthy. It all remains to be seen. But Jalen Hurts isn't practicing that much. I mean, it's half and half. It looks like he's not going to play. Minshew will play. And I don't really think Minshew's going to go out there and try to do a superhero effort. They're just going to try to win this game, especially like if I was Philadelphia, I wouldn't want to reveal all my cards. Go out there, just win the game against a bunch of backups. Save all your good stuff for the second time you play them in a couple weeks.
Pierce, what about an underdog to win outright?
I like the Patriots a lot. Maybe this is a trap, but you look at what Indianapolis has done. I know on paper they've got this great run DVOA, but they really haven't faced tough running backs and tough running teams. When they did, they gave up a lot of yards. Jonathan Taylor ran all over them. Eli Mitchell ran all over them. Leonard Fournette ran all over them. And I imagine if Damian Harris is healthy, which I think he is, it depends on what Belichick's doing, but I think Damian Harris is going to be good to go, and I expect him to run all over. And I also like how Mac Jones sets up against this pass defense. The pass defense dares you to basically dink and dunk. They don't allow big passes, and that's what Mac Jones does. He doesn't have a deep intended air yards at all. It goes for about 7.5, so I think that they're going to be able to move the ball and get the upset. And again, I mean, Patriots seem to get disrespected every single week. I think this is a slap in the face to make them the underdog here.
By the way, later in the show, Steve, Julian, Ross Tucker, they're going to dive a little deeper into that game. You guys had on a fantastic guest, one of my best friends, on one of your episodes this week on Unreasonable Odds. So, Steve, you want to tell me a little bit about which underdog you like to win outright this week?
Yeah, give me the Bengals. Like, I don't understand why they're underdogs in this game. I mean, I get that Denver just absolutely trampled the Lions, but like everybody tramples the Lions. So does that really mean that they should be, the favorites in this game? If this was in Cincinnati, would they be favorites here? I'm not sure. I think this would be closer to a pick 'em, but I think the Bengals are in a good spot here to take down the Broncos. They really haven't beaten anybody of note as of late. So I just don't understand why they're underdogs here. The Bengals really need this win here. The Broncos are still, technically in the hunt, but the Bengals are in a much better position to make the playoffs than the Bengals at this point. So I think the Bengals can sneak one out here and take one away from Denver.
Alan, talk to me.
Stephen Pierce had great underdogs there, but I like to bet a little bit of money and I like to win a lot. So I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints at plus 400 against Tampa. They always play the Bucs tough. New Orleans always plays them tough, and they have a nasty team. Now they get back Armstead, Marcus Davenport, Cameron Jordan, and Alvin Kamara shows up to, okay, here's 50% of the market share. No problem. The plus 400 is an enticing enough play in Week 15.
Gentlemen, great work. But I have one more question for you. I need a player prop. Steve.
Give me Carson Wentz to throw an interception against the Patriots. They are second in the league in interceptions at 19. Getting Carson Wentz under pressure has been something that opposing teams have found success with. He's been under pressure on 38% of his dropbacks, completing less than half of his pass attempts. In that scenario, you do not want to make a mistake against this Patriots team in that type of realm. They've been able to pick off opposing quarterbacks more than any other team other than the Cowboys. So give me Carson Wentz to throw an interception on Saturday.
Alan, player prop this weekend.
I don't know if this is going to be like sacrilegious, but Jonathan Taylor under 92.5 rushing yards. We know Bill Belichick finds the opposite team's strength, his opponent's strength, and he tries to take it away. And he makes you beat you with your secondary and your tertiary weapons. Taylor will still get fed, but his seasonal average of around 5.6 yards per carry could look more like 4 yards per carry against New England. And if he gets his usual 18 to 22 totes, that'll land on the under.
All right, Pierce, bring us home.
Taysom Hill, over 43.5 rushing yards. Josh Allen had 100 on Tampa Bay last week. Jameis Winston, Fields, Hurts, all around 40 rushing yards against this team. You can't run on them, so you have to pass. Well, those three that I mentioned, they can't pass, so they had to resort to running. And I think you're going to see the same thing from Taysom Hill. They can't run, they can't pass, and he'll just have to carry the load on the ground, which he's done the last 2 games.
Yeah, a lot to choose from this weekend on the DraftKings Sportsbook around the NFL, everyone. But again, keep an eye on rosters because COVID is wreaking havoc on, as Pierce mentioned, feels like all the leagues right now. We will help everyone build those NBA lineups next, right after my interview from yesterday with former center and Super Bowl champion with the Giants, Sean O'Hara, to talk about just what went wrong for his team this season and what needs to change moving forward. All right, we are happy now to be joined by NFL Network analyst, former beefy center, Super Bowl champion with the New York Giants. We got Sean O'Hara. Hey, thanks for making some time for DraftKings today, dude. How you been?
Yeah, doing well, Emerson. Good to see you, my man.
Yeah, good to see you as well. We'll get into all the other teams around the league first. I know how excited you are to talk your former team with the Giants, though. They're heading towards their 5th straight losing season here. I know they've been plagued by injuries and an inconsistent play. So in your opinion, what's the number one thing that really needs to change to kind of right the ship there?
Yeah, great question, Emerson. As I reach over my right shoulder and I grab the hat that I got sitting right here, and you know what? You know why it's sitting on the shelf right now? Because I don't want to wear it right now.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't feel like men right now. The number one thing I feel like for the Giants right now is I want to see somebody stand up and fight. Like I'm tired of seeing the same thing in and out. Well, you know what? We got to get better. We're going to work on getting better, improve on things in practice. That hasn't happened. And I think Giants fans and former Giants were disappointed. We're tired of hearing about all the excuses, and we want to see some production. I think when you look at the Giants right now, the one thing that has really plagued them, and it hasn't just been this season, it was last year as well, the inability to score points. When every other team in the NFL is finding ways to put up 40 burgers left and right, every team is scoring points. The Giants, for some reason, can't seem to do that. And with the rules, the way they are now, with everything kind of leaning towards the offensive play and the ability to score points, that's what everybody wants to see. That's what puts people in stands and lets people turn on the TV and tune into your game. Scoring points, fun to watch. That's what the Giants need to do right now. They need to find a way to score some points. They've shown that they can play good defense, and they've shown that they can step up when they need to, and they've held teams to, 14 points, 70 points, and they still lose games like that. That shouldn't happen. So offense needs points, and they need them fast.
I mean, some people look to the quarterback position too as the reason why, like, they're not scoring a lot of points there. Like Daniel Jones, we're talking about one of the many players, who are banged up on this team right now. Again, injuries just kind of crushing the Giants. But like 3 years after being selected, 6th overall in the 2019 draft, people are like, can he be a franchise quarterback? Sean, what do you think his future looks like there in New York?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm sure Daniel Jones would love to know the answer to that too. I think there's been a couple of things that have shown up with Daniel Jones that has created some concern. Obviously, the turnovers are something that everybody's talked about. But the other thing is, I don't feel like Daniel Jones, it's never been about his ability. Right now, it's about his availability. He continues to miss games. I mean, we just went from Eli Manning, who didn't miss a single game in his 16-year career due to injury, and then now to Daniel Jones, who every year is missing games. So those are two things that I think are concerns. People have questions about. I go back to Daniel Jones' rookie year. He threw more touchdown passes as a rookie quarterback than Kyler Murray. And I think when you looked at that, you said, okay, man, there's room for growth there. There's all kinds of room and optimism for the future. And things just haven't gotten better. So I don't put all of that on Daniel Jones. I put a lot of it on the offense, the system, and the supporting cast around him. Look, a quarterback, like any car, it doesn't matter what's under the hood. It doesn't matter what kind of engine you have in your car. You could take the restrictor plates off the Red Dragon. If you have flat tires, if the tires are not working, that car's not going anywhere. And I think that's what we've seen with Daniel Jones. There's been the supporting cast around him has not been great. There really isn't anybody on the Giants offense right now that scares you. Saquon Barkley used to scare people, but he's not himself yet. Maybe he will get back to the Saquon Barkley of old, but the offense is not explosive. So I don't look at it like, boy, Daniel Jones is the one holding this offense back because they've got all these explosive playmakers. It just has not been a good synergy. And I don't put all that on Daniel Jones. I don't think we can properly evaluate him given all of the dysfunction that's gone on around him. Look, for him now, he could be, if he's back next year with the Giants, which I think he will be, there's a chance it could be his third offense in 5 years.
Yeah.
That doesn't help quarterbacks either.
No. The coaching changes, head coach, offensive coordinator. Of course, that doesn't help. You're talking about the supporting cast. The good news is, like, as of right now, it's looking like the Giants are going to have a couple top 10 picks. Like, it's going to be an opportunity to improve that supporting cast around Daniel Jones. What do you think the Giants should do come April?
You can't win football games if you can't block people. And I think that's something that Giants fans have witnessed firsthand. When I came to the Giants in 2004, the offensive line was a weakness. And they were talking about, we're only going to go as far as the offensive line. And we knew we had to get better. We had to fix that quick. That's where I see the Giants needing to fix things, obviously, on the offensive side of the ball, but from the defensive line standpoint as well. You need guys on defense that can win on 3rd and 9 by themselves. Like, you don't have to dial up blitzes and manufacture pressure. You're getting it from people winning their one-on-one battles. So I think those are the two areas of concern. When you look at the Giants, last year, Nick Gates started at center, Shane Lemieux started at left guard, and Andrew Thomas started at left tackle. Arguably 3 rookies. Look, Nick Gates wasn't officially a rookie, but 3 rookies. So that was supposed to be, those are your young guys. The right side was supposed to be veterans. And then coming into this year, there's growth with that. Well, Nick Gates breaks his leg. Shane Lemieux gets hurt the first week in training camp, and we never see anything from him. So they've lost some of their young guns, so to speak, up front. I think adding another piece to that puzzle would definitely go a long way in trying to fix this offensive line for the long run.
All right, as of right now, we have a big slate around the NBA to dive into. And good morning to DraftKings contributors Nick Fryer and Matt Meiselman. Here for some building blocks of your favorite DFS plays at the following positions on tonight's 8-game slate. We obviously know this news can be changed, but as of right now, guard you would build around, consider building around, is who, Nick?
I'm going to go with Damian Lillard tonight. I know that game's got the highest total right now with LaMelo Ball questionable to play. Obviously, he's been out for a little while. He should be returning at some point during Charlotte's road trip. With this being the highest total and with LaMelo possibly coming back, I'm going to have to get a little piece of this one because a little piece of Lillard tonight because I know that this team has been struggling a ton. The Blazers are in a big skid. They've been disappointing all season, and I know Lillard when he came back the first 2 games did really well. The second game, not so much. much in terms of fantasy output, but with Lillard, this is a guy who's going to get you out of that slump. He's the one that has to do it. As much as Nurkic, needs to help him to some extent, McCollum not around right now. So Lillard's got to be the guy. So a little bit intangibles, a little bit. I know that Lillard's has been doing well since he came back from that ab injury. So I'm going to go with him as my guard at 9.3K.
Maddie, your guard is who and why?
So I like the Lillard call, but I actually think there is a guard who just broke some record that some people may care about that actually won't be that popular tonight. Jordan Poole is out tonight for the Warriors for COVID protocols, and Steph Curry has had a day off since that Knicks game where he broke the three-point record, didn't play particularly well the rest of the game. Maybe he takes a few extra shots tonight with Poole not there. And then also the Celtics are missing Al Horford on the other side, and they're missing Grant Williams on the other side. So their defense may suffer tonight too. Maybe they have to play some smaller lineups, faster game, all of that. But I think Curry, with the significantly higher price tag in a range where people are going to want to play Jokic, I think he makes sense to pay up for. And then we're just going to have so much value. It'll be pretty easy to fit him in. So I like Steph a lot.
Matt, who makes sense to pay up for and build around it forward?
So this won't be nearly as contrarian of a pick, but Chris Middleton is listed probable tonight. And with Giannis out, Middleton should be 8K or more. The thing is that Middleton missed the Bucks last game, and Drew Holiday was the one who got the price bump because he played so well in that game. Holiday's 7,900, but Middleton is still 6,700. So that's almost too cheap of a price tag for a matchup against the Pelicans where you just can't fade it. I think there are a lot of spots on this slate where you can try to get different and find some contrarian options. It's a big slate, but Middleton 6,700, game without Giannis, I think that's as close to a lock as anyone on tonight's slate.
Nick, how about you, man?
Absolutely. I'm with Matt on this one 100%. I mean, the only worry I have here is Middleton going to be too chalky in this one just because 6.7K for him is a joke. I mean, I know he struggled in his last game before he sat out against the Pacers, but this is a much different situation, and they're not going to be rushing him back with that knee injury after they just took care of the Pacers, and now they're facing the worst team in the Pelicans. And when you look at Middleton, when Giannis has been off the floor this season, 3.5% usage rate, highest on the team. And when Portis is out as well, which is the case tonight, that bumps all the way up to 36.6% usage rate. So he's a no-brainer for your lineups tonight.
I mean, is Jokic here at center a no-brainer as well? I feel like, every day when he is on the slate, he is active. Everyone's like, you essentially have to pay up for him because he just produces on such a consistent basis, Nick.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Emerson. And he is. At first, I was like, I'm not thinking Jokic tonight. I like Steven Adams in the situation against Sacramento because obviously they're hurting in terms of numbers but also in terms of size. And then DeMarcus Cousins, another guy who should see a little bit of a bump. I know when it comes to the scenario that he's in with no Portis and no Giannis, he does well in terms of usage. I think it goes to 25%. But yeah, you got to get Jokic tonight. This is definitely a night where there's a ton of value, and you can still go and have a Jokic with a Lillard, and even still have Middleton in your lineup and be in a good spot. Steph does, I would think, make it a little bit tougher to have them both, but still definitely doable because there's a ton of value to be had tonight. And then with Jokic too, he's in a good spot for him to outperform his numbers because the Hawks have given up the sixth most DK fantasy points to opposing centers this season. So yeah, you got to go with Jokic tonight.
I mean, Matt, how difficult will it make to construct the rest of your roster if you're throwing $12,000 towards this guy tonight?
Well, as of now, it seems like it'll be kind of hard. But again, we're going to get so much news by the time lock rolls around that it's going to get much, much easier. So for that reason, I think for cash games, you just play Jokic. For GPPs, I think he could be a little too popular, and there are just going to be so many center choices that go overlooked. Nick mentioned one of them, DeMarcus Cousins, is cheap, but I think in that mid-range, there's a couple guys that people aren't going to play because Stars and Scrubs is just going to be so easy to do tonight. So the one guy I like is actually the other side of this Bucks game we already talked about. Jonas Valanciunas is tonight he's getting a matchup where there's no Giannis to protect the rim, who is basically the Bucks center with Brook Lopez already out. No Bobby Portis. He's going head-to-head with DeMarcus Cousins, who I can't imagine is a very good defensive player at this point in his career. Jonas Valanciunas always has massive upside. I think this is a good matchup for him. And I also just think that not a lot of people are playing him because most lineups will probably take Jokic and then take a cheaper guy. That just kind of fits better. So I like J-Val a lot tonight.
Matt, how much sense does it make to build around a value play tonight?
I think you're going to need a few because there's just going to be so many. But the one situation that we really need to monitor, and this game is not until 10 o'clock, is the Sacramento Kings. Tyrese Halliburton is still questionable, so we already know De'Aaron Fox is out, Alex Len is out, Rashawn Holmes is out. The Kings are very shorthanded. But if Halliburton sits, then Davion Mitchell is almost unfadable at 3,600. And then Buddy Hield gets super interesting at 5,100. So I'll give those two guys as the value to build around. If Halliburton is out, I mean, we could see both of them playing 40-plus minutes just because the team is so shorthanded. So I like both of those guys on Sacramento a lot, and that's just a team to keep an eye on throughout the day.
Okay, Nick, who would you consider building around in the value play department?
I think Buddy Hield is a great call at 5.1K. Even if Halliburton plays, I still think he's going to get a lot of opportunities tonight with De'Aaron Fox doubtful at this point, and of course, plenty of other guys out. I mentioned the centers, of course, Steven Adams in that game. He's in an advantageous position, and then DeMarcus Cousins as well. You look at Jordan Nwora over in that Bucks game as well. I think he's a super saver at 3.3K. To me, though, another one that kind of could fly under the radar too is the Heat, because they have no Jimmy Butler, no Bam Adebayo. Duncan Robinson at 4.7K played 39 minutes last game, turned great value, and he's going up against a Magic team that, however you want to look at Duncan Robinson as a shooting guard or a small forward, the Magic have not done well against either position this season from a fantasy perspective. They've given up the most DK fantasy points to shooting guards and the 7th most to opposing small forwards this season.
All right, before you guys take off, let's do slate approved pick. Let's go to the DraftKings Sportsbook. Give me your favorite bet on tonight's slate. Nick.
This is Grizzlies -5.5. I got it at -5 on the best bets article for DK Playbook today. I was stunned to see the number this low. I mean, I see the Spurs Jazz game. I think it was at 11.5. I last checked. And then the Grizzlies, who have been a cover machine, going up against the Kings that have no De'Aaron Fox, possibly no Tyrese Halliburton. Or say De'Aaron Fox is doubtful. More than likely, he's not playing. And then the Kings. I mean, they're one of the least efficient teams on the defensive end this season. They're 13-16 against the spread. And then you look at what the Grizzlies have been doing lately. I mean, on top of the Kings issues, the Grizzlies are a cover machine, 18-11 so far this season. So yeah, Grizzlies -5.5. I mean, I'd do this at a little bit higher number, but you don't need to worry about that right now.
Maddie, bring us home.
Okay, I'm going with the homer pick again, like I do probably once a week with the Boston Celtics, where I just think the Warriors in the midst of this East Coast trip are not in a great position to play at 100%, just because I think there's fatigue that's building up. They played a close game in Philly, and then Indiana, and then New York, and now they're in Boston. And without Jordan Poole, Curry's going to be asked to do more. I think his shot volume will be higher. I don't know that his efficiency will look that great. It does bother me that Al Horford's not there, but the Celtics are pretty healthy for this game, barring any new COVID protocol news. They have all their key guys back besides Horford, with Tatum and Brown and Smart. Josh Richardson, Robert Williams is there. So I like the Celtics to cover. I think that it's pretty close to 50-50 that they win the game outright. And then just to tease tomorrow, I don't think Steph Curry's playing against the Raptors after this one. So you can do with that what you will for tomorrow once those betting lines come out.
All right, Maddie, Nick, you guys are free to go. We will still talk best bets around college football because the bowl season kicks off tonight, but we will do that DFS thing on the ice right after this quick break. All right, to the ice we go, and the NHL, another league having some issues with COVID right now. So again, follow DK Live on Twitter because you want to make sure you definitely do not put someone in your lineup who will not be playing that night. We do have 6 games still alive and well, at least as of right now. So let's talk about them with DraftKings contributor Jeff Ulrich and RotoWire's Paul Bruno. Need your DFS and sports betting picks here, dudes. Starting with a DFS option to pay up for Jeffrey.
I mean, the obvious play here is obviously going to be Alex Ovechkin. I mean, there's a pretty big, gap between him and Sidney Crosby just in terms of the top 2 players on the slate. Obi's averaging 5 shots on goal per game, 16 points in his last 10 games. I'm going to throw out another player, though, I really think you should be getting a piece of tonight, and that's Filip Forsberg of the Nashville Predators. He's only 6,800, but his shot rate isn't quite up there with Obi, but it's close. He's got 12 points over his last 10 games as well, and he gets a Blackhawks team here who they're really inconsistent. I mean, they haven't won 2 games in a row since early November. And the Predators are one of those teams dealing with COVID issues, especially in their forward group. I think Forsberg's going to play a ton tonight. You'll probably see him push for 21 minutes. It's a very good matchup against the Blackhawks, who still allow a ton of shots on goal and quality scoring chances. I think Forsberg here, other than Ovechkin, is really the pay-up guy for me, and he really isn't going to cost you that much at 6,800.
Paul, Ovechkin, highest priced player by far, $9,600. I saw you mention to AJ on Twitter moments ago that you would maybe sing the praises of Sidney Crosby for him.
Yes, I feel obliged to do that for my podcast partner, Emerson, so I'm going to do that because I think most of the other expensive options on the DK board are facing tough matchups. So since AJ's not with us, I'll wax poetic about Crosby for a little bit. You can turn away if you like. But for $8,100, this guy is a hot bargain tonight. He has the favorable matchup against a Sabres club that doesn't look like they have anyone who will neutralize him anytime soon. And he has 15 points of his own in his last 10 games. So hot stick as well. I think he builds on those totals in a big way tonight because he and his Pens are really rolling. I love Jeff's call on Filip Forsberg. He's the other must-have guy in my eye as well. One of the league's most skilled forwards who's been on an extended scoring streak. And Jeff mentioned the 12 points and 34 shots in his last 10 games. He'll only cost $6,800 against a Chicago club that doesn't play defense that well, in my opinion.
Yeah, Crosby's on fire. 15 points in his last 9 games, averaging well over 3 scoring chances a contest as well. Paul, how about a DFS value play?
Well, the top line of Vegas was silenced the last time out, so I'm back on Chandler Stevenson in this spot. He costs still only $4,000, despite being the center on a number 1 line with Pacioretty and Stone on the wings. I don't think that they'll be silent a second game in a row. He's been a consistent point-per-game guy on the season, averaging over 10 DraftKings points per game, so he's a solid value in this price range, better than most others at that rate as well. I think the only other guy that I would consider down here comparable is Ivan Barbership. He's been thriving with a recent move to center on the second scoring line in a depleted St. Louis lineup. And he gets the benefit of skating between Tarasenko and Buchnevich, who have had fine seasons in their own. And he's accounted for 11 points in his last 10 games, costing only $3,600. Another screaming hot value in this price range.
Jeff, hook us up with some value, dude.
Yeah, I really like Clayton Keller these days at 4,100. I know it's Arizona and they're not very good, but Keller is basically on a point per game average here. And he's just like he's always been a player who you kind of expected a little bit more from. He's got a very good shot, and he goes through stretches where he uses it a lot, and then he kind of goes cold. But this season, specifically over the last 10 games or so, he just seems to be a little bit more aggressive with the puck. And I mentioned the point rate is way up. 8 shots on goal in his last game. Like I said, you're just seeing more performances like this from him over the long term. And it's not like the opportunities are going to go anywhere soon because the Coyotes don't have anyone else to play in this top line role. So, it's not the greatest matchup against Anaheim, but is it ever a good matchup for Arizona? I think at 4,100, Keller is just a play at that price. I think you could also look to Nashville again with a guy like Eli Tolvanen, who's going to get more power play exposure as well. He's only 3,400 there. So Nashville going to create some opportunity with the COVID issues.
Jeff, take us to the DK Sportsbook. Money line or puck line bet you like?
Yeah, my money line bet for tonight is definitely going to be the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, this is just a team that's they've just put it all together, and we've seen even when Vegas in prior years have been at 90% or not scoring that great, but they've still been good defensively. They're just a tough team to beat, and now they've got Max Pacioretty playing out of his mind. The second line is producing. If they ever get like Robin Leonard to start standing on his head, this team's going to be unbeatable. And I think a minus 130 here, you come and say, well, the Rangers are getting disrespected, but the Rangers have not been really that good. They beat Arizona their last time out. Whoop-de-woo. They finally got a goal for Mika Zibanejad. This Rangers top line really has not been producing, and now they're facing a juggernaut in the Golden Knights. They still don't have Shesterkin back. I think you take the Golden Knights tonight to win straight up.
Paul, you like anyone with plus money?
No, I think the Knights are the ones that you go on tonight for everything that Jeff said. They're winning 5 of their last 6 games. They're not affected by COVID. One of the few teams that can say that around the league. And the top line, like I said, was silent. I don't think that's happening twice in a row. They'll be key contributors to a win on Broadway. Take the visitors on the money line for minus 115. I don't know if you guys caught the news, too, just out of Winnipeg, that their coach resigned suddenly. And I think that's an impact on the game that they have with the Capitals this evening. The Jets have to be reeling as Paul Maurice announced his resignation this morning. And they'll also be without their captain as Blake Wheeler's out with a knee injury that caused a shuffling of their 2 scoring lines. The Caps, meanwhile, will be out without one of their top centers as well, as Kuznetsov's on the COVID protocol. But Lars Eller has been on a real nice streak as a top 2 center in this lineup, so they won't miss a beat there. He's filled in admirably well. Nick Backstrom was sidelined. Backstrom has returned, and he came back and was prolific and very visible as the Caps did put 4 goals on the board the other night. Take Washington at even money this evening.
Paul, which game total stands out to you?
I like the over 5.5 tonight as Nashville takes on the Chicago Blackhawks. The Preds have gone over 4 in their last 6, and the Hawks 3 in their last 4. So I like the respective clubs for their offensive capabilities more than the wobbly defensive structures. I also like the Anaheim offense. We've talked about them a lot as being a surprise among the league leaders on a nightly basis. They play a Coyotes club that is limping into town on a 6-game losing streak, and they're very bad defensively, worst in the league, in fact, allowing almost 3 3/4 goals a game. The Ducks may reach the game total all by themselves. I'm taking the over of 5.5 here.
Jeff, game total?
Yeah, there's not one necessarily on the board that I love more than another. I could see that Jets-Washington game developing into a shootout. Capitals goaltenders really haven't been that good. Paul did mention the Paul Maurice thing, though, and that just kind of scares me off a bit. I think my favorite game total is most likely the under in the Pittsburgh-Buffalo game. Pittsburgh's banged up front, too. Well, banged up, COVIDed up, however you'd like to refer to it. And Tristan Jarry most likely to get the start here. That just means that the Sabres aren't likely to score more than once in this game. And with Pittsburgh's offense not at 100%, I think you're getting plus 100 to take the under here, too. I think that's absolutely fine in this spot, considering that Pittsburgh's offense isn't at 100%.
All right, let's wrap up this potentially award-winning segment with your favorite player prop on the board tonight, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that Paul made a really good case for, the Capitals and their offense and Nick Backstrom being back. I think Alex Ovechkin over 1.5 points tonight at plus 145. I'll take that, especially against a Jets team who, again, no Blake Wheeler, their head coach, just quitting kind of, again, we don't know for personal reasons, but it certainly came out of the blue. And you just can't describe the impact that these things have on a team. It certainly, I don't think, is going to be a positive thing. And Ovechkin, 16 points in his last 10 games. Again, just shooting the puck like a madman again. I think that the fact you're getting plus 145 in this spot, I think you should take it, especially on a night like tonight with all the things going around the Jets organization.
Yeah, Paul, what do you like here for a player prop tonight? Which one should you take advantage of?
This is for AJ. I'm going back to Sidney Crosby, score a goal, pay out at plus 135. A lot of love going to my partner today. I miss him. Pacioretty was silent last time out. Tonight he gets back on the score sheet in New York. This guy is a big, prolific shot guy, too. He'll pay off with a goal tonight at a plus 125 bet. For slightly better payouts than these, though, I look for Alex DeBrincat to take advantage of playing with Patrick Kane. For those of you who haven't watched these guys play together, it's a real treat. Kane is one of the best guys for his on-ice vision, and he makes passes that other people wouldn't even consider. And DeBrincat's converted 16 of those into goals this season. I think he gets number 17 tonight at home against Nashville, paying out at plus 155.
All right, guys, thank you so much. That'll do it for the AJ Memorial. We'll wrap up the show with some college football bowl game bets with Ben Rossa next. But first, the latest episode of DraftKings' Unreasonable Odds podcast. It has dropped. Steve Buchanan, Julian Edlow, they're breaking down the Week 15 slate with our good friend Ross Tucker. Here they are with a little preview of Saturday's matchup, tomorrow night's matchup between the Patriots and the Colts.
a game that we've been fortunate to not really get any impactful news on. That is a massive game in the AFC on Saturday night that we're all going to be watching. Patriots won 7 in a row going into Indy. Colts start 0-3. Now they're up to 7-6, playing really well. We all still have that win in Buffalo kind of in our heads. This is a chess match game. This is a really interesting game. Should be a really close game. The Patriots opened favored. Now 2-point dogs, right? It got as high as 2.5.
Yeah.
2-point underdogs on DK Sportsbook, plus 115 on the money line. This is the game of the week, in my opinion, Ross. What do you got for Pat's Colts?
Yeah, I can't wait. And what I would say is, to me, the Patriots are an excellent teaser leg.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one thing that jumped out to me. I got them earlier in the week on the DK Sportsbook when they were getting 2.5, actually. I got them up to 8.5. They're a teaser leg I like, along with Pittsburgh, Miami, Cincinnati. Those are the teaser legs I like this week. Because I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be an awesome game. I think, though, if we're just talking about the spread, I'd probably lay the 2 with the Colts. But you just don't feel like you're getting the value now that the line has switched as much. But I think the Colts, they need this game like blood. I love the way they were running the football before their bye. They're fresh. They're ready. To me, this is another game that's a field goal either way, which means you should probably not take the Colts or the Patriots for that matter. But my lean would be laying the 2 with the Colts. I think they end up winning the game for a bunch of different reasons.
So if the Patriots were to win this game, though, they have to obviously stop Jonathan Taylor, right? How does that need to happen for them to do that? Because the Patriots against teams who have run the ball consistently have struggled. We've seen that happen against like the Saints. They were able to get over 100 yards against the Patriots. The Chargers went for 154 yards against them. The Titans, even without Derrick Henry, went for 246 yards against the Patriots. What do they need to do to not have Jonathan Taylor beat them and instead try to have Carson Wentz beat them? Because that's where the weakness is with the Colts, is when you need to have Carson Wentz throwing the ball. Now he's going to be facing one of the better secondaries in the league. So how do the Patriots do it so that they stop Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I think that the Patriots, we all know they're going to try to make Carson Wentz beat him, right? But the 2 things that jump out to me there, I guess, on the one hand, sometimes I feel like the Patriots, it doesn't bother them that much if you run on them.
Yeah.
In the sense that they're primarily concerned about explosive plays and the red zone. So if you have some success running it, I don't think they get all that worked up about it. I think they really just don't want to give up the chunk plays. That said, Frank Reich and the Colts know that Belichick's going to probably put the extra guy in the box on first down and not let Jonathan Taylor run them over, which means, do we see more Carson Wentz play action on first down? And does he deliver? I mean, this is like the chess match, right? Well, I know he's going to do this, so I'm going to do this. But he knows I know that he's going to do this, so I'm going to do this. I also think, little tidbit here, I think Mac Jones has a big day in this game.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Saw Bobby Okereke come out this week and say, we got to stop the run. Got to come downhill. Got to stop the run. Well, guess what? That's why when you play for the Patriots, Belichick doesn't let you say anything like that. Because he knows that means that they're going to go ahead and try to come downhill against the run, look for play action pass from the Patriots on early down and distance, trying to take advantage of the Colts over aggressiveness. So I agree with Julian. Going to be an awesome game.
Let the games begin, baby. College bowl season is here. It starts with the Bahamas Bowl at high noon, so in just about 15 minutes. A record 84 teams were bowl eligible this year, and thanks to the creation of the Frisco Classic, every single one of them is postseason bound. Let's get some best bets from my best friend, Awesemo.com's Ben Rasa. I have missed you. I have not talked to you in quite some time. So let's start this thing off by focusing on the games coming up here over the next few weeks. Saturday is insane. 6 bowls to choose from. What's your favorite bet on the card this weekend?
Well, first of all, I missed you too, of course. I'm very excited to be back and talk some bowls. I'm going to get right to it. The first game, we've got the Boca Raton Bowl, Appalachian State, Western Kentucky. I like Western Kentucky. They're a 3-point underdog here. And the thing you need to know about this team, they throw early and they throw often. They average 431 passing yards per game, first in the country by a mile. Zappy, they only really throw. It's a fantastic team to watch. And I think that style could cause some problems for App State, who's a fine team, nothing against them. But I look at this Western Kentucky, they're pretty much intact. The quarterback's going to be there. Most of the receivers are playing in this game. Give me the 3 points. I think they're very live to actually win the game.
Yeah, total 67 in that one. Zappy, by the way, is 4 touchdowns away from breaking Joe Burrow's single season mark, and he conveniently averages 4 touchdown passes a game. What about for the 8 games on the slate for next week? That includes like Georgia State at Ball State on Christmas Day. So Santa's coming down the chimney. You're like, whoa, big man, I'm watching a bowl game here. Which contest do you have your eye on?
So I'm going to go to the day before. I'll go to Christmas Eve. We go to Hawaii for the Hawaii Bowl, and naturally Hawaii is in the game. But I actually like Memphis a lot in this game, and it's because on the other side, and this is the theme of college football bowl season, who is playing and who is gone. Hawaii has lost the core of their team. Their quarterback has transferred. Their running back has transferred. A ton of other guys look like they're not going to be there. And to me, this leaves them without any semblance of an offense. I don't really understand how they're going to move the ball. Memphis has lost a couple guys, but the core of that team is intact. I thought they were a better team to begin with. And the line proved this. It was at 4. It's over 7. It's up to 7.5. I still like it there, though. I think Hawaii is one of the teams coming into bowl season the most, suffering the most losses. And I think Memphis takes advantage of that on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, Tigers haven't won a game away from home in more than 3 months. So you're also telling me you're sleeping on America's team, UCF, clashing with in-state rival Florida. They're playing for just the 3rd time ever in the Gasparilla Bowl, which is named after a mythical pirate.
So I've heard. I heard it's quite a scene in Tampa, a can't-miss type of party. And both of those teams, they've got nobody left. Obviously, Gabriel not there. Florida didn't have anyone to begin with, so I don't know what to make there. Maybe it'll be quite a scene at Raymond James. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's a sold-out game, too. And you know what? Things are going to start to get real meaty after the Christmas holiday, Ben. Oregon, Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl. You got Tennessee, Purdue in the Music City Bowl. That's just to name a few. Tell us which one you're targeting and why.
So I'm actually going to go to Tennessee. Another line that has moved. It's up to 4.5, but I still think Tennessee's the right side. First of all, the game is in Nashville. That can't hurt. And second of all, Purdue, like a lot of teams, looks like they're potentially going to be without I think their best player on both sides of the ball. They have 2 NFL prospects in there, David Bell being one of them. And Tennessee plays at that lightning fast pace. Who would know better than you? Heupel is in control there. Obviously, that type of style is very difficult to play against. 63.5 point total. I just think Tennessee, again, they're the more intact team. Their style is a lot more difficult to prep for. I think they're just the better team, and it'll show.
Who's that? Aiden O'Connell, too. 16 touchdowns, 0 picks in his past 5 games. He's averaging 372 passing yards. So, and then you got to look at 100. He's going up against 103rd ranked passing defense in the nation. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I do think Purdue will be able to move the ball. There's no doubt about it. I just don't know if Tennessee, like I said, they're very comfortable playing that style. I think ultimately they'll wear them down, but there's definitely things on the Boilermaker side that will cause problems. I just think all in all, Tennessee's the better team.
Dude, New Year's Eve and day, oh, it is juicy. It is delicious. Sugar Bowl, Rose Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Peach Bowl, like that long walk from the couch to the fridge is going to be epic. Like, are the marquee matchups here? Those are the ones outside of the college football playoff. Where are you looking for a favorite bet among these?
So many good opportunities. I'm going to have to go with the team that I've stuck out all year on. I got to say Kentucky. I really do. They play Iowa in the Citrus Bowl on New Year's Day. Kentucky's now a 2.5 point favorite. This opened at +1. I'll never understand that. Iowa is a team that can't do anything offensively. Goodson's not playing their running back. Kentucky's intact. They can move the ball. I've been so impressed with them all year. They brought in the Rams offense coordinator, Liam Cohen. He's really transformed that offense. Will Levis, the former Penn State quarterback, leading them. I just think they simply outclassed them. So I looked at them, and then I'll just say Mississippi looks like Corral is going to play. I'm very surprised about that, but if he is in fact under center for Ole Miss, I do lean to them as well over Baylor.
There are a few teams I loathe watching more than the offensively challenged Hawkeyes. That's rough.
That team They are they're in SCLSU mud dog territory where you just take a knee on offense because they just can't move the ball. It's highly disturbing.
Yeah, I know. But, those wins over Iowa State, Penn State, Minnesota carries a little more weight than I think most of what anything Kentucky has really done. How about the college football playoff? It's time, Ben. Let's get your take on each game. Let's get a champion from you here. Let's go. The Cotton Bowl has Alabama as big favorites over Cincinnati. Hey, Cinderella team here. What are your expectations for that one?
I'm happy Cincinnati's in the game. I think they deserve their shot, but they are near 2 touchdown underdogs here. And I just think ultimately, I don't expect them to embarrass themselves by any stretch. And look at the playoff every year. A team gets blown out. So even if they do, no big deal. I just think all in all, the way that Alabama, as we saw against Georgia, what they can do, they've got the Heisman Trophy winner under center. I'm not sure that Cincinnati's going to be able to keep up. I respect Ritter. I really like their coach. I just think all in all, Alabama, like everyone believes, is just far superior. I would have to lay the points if I was betting this game. I think that Alabama kind of pretty much breezes into the finals.
They kind of feel like the weakest title favorite, too, in like playoff history in a way. It's a one-loss squad. It won 3 games by single digits in November. So you don't think Cincinnati can knock them off, huh?
Cincinnati's going to have to do – I don't know exactly what their path – that's my biggest problem. What is Cincinnati's path?
Yeah.
Is it to slow the game? Is it to outscore them? I don't think it's to outscore them. I don't see that happening. And so Alabama's certainly mortal. Auburn should have beat them. We wouldn't even be having this conversation. But I think all in all right now, Alabama certainly has a ton of paths to victory, and I'm not sure what Cincinnati's is.
UCF's just watching Cincinnati in the spot and just straight up punching air, dude.
No respect.
The Orange Bowl has Michigan taking on Georgia in the late game on New Year's Eve. The Dogs are favored by 8.5 as things stand now. So can the Fighting Jim Harbaughs pull off an upset?
I think they can. I'm going to take a little shot here. I think that Michigan – now, it's going to be tough. Georgia's defense and run defense in particular is seemingly impenetrable. But at the same time, clearly they're mortal. I know Michigan is not Alabama by any stretch. But you know what? Everyone says the same thing, and I've been guilty of this. Oh, if Michigan falls behind, can Cade McNamara bring them back? Well, you don't really have to worry about that if they can run like this. And every team they go up against, they are able to lean on Haskins, lean on Corum. And if they do that against Georgia, I think we saw that Stetson Bennett and that team, maybe they have problems coming back. So I know Georgia's probably the better team on paper. Yep. I think they're a deserving favorite. I think that Michigan certainly has a chance because they know who they are and they play their style better than anyone I've seen in a long time.
And I think the Bulldogs are like unproven against really elite opponents. They've decisively lost. Like it's lone game against a top 15 opponent here. People forget that. And Michigan looks confident as hell with that defense.
No doubt. Georgia, listen, they crushed everybody, but they do play in the easier side of the SEC. No doubt about it. The Clemson first game of the year, I don't take anything from that given what Clemson actually was. And Michigan, Ohio State, I know had problems of their own, but you can't doubt that team has extreme offensive firepower. And seeing what Michigan did, and it was in the big house, no doubt, but Michigan really does have some styles that I think are going to cause problems for everyone, including Georgia.
Yeah, since dominating Ohio State, man, they're walking with a different swagger in their step right now. All right, time has come. We need a pick from you for your national champion. Who is it going to be, Ben Rasa?
It's going to be Michigan.
Oh, yeah!
I'm going for it. You know what? I think the winner of the Georgia-Michigan game has a real chance against Alabama. Both of those teams I would back, but if Michigan is able to beat Georgia, I don't know why they wouldn't be able to hang in with Alabama. They've shown that they can stop a prolific passing attack against Ohio State, and they would have just shown that they can run on anybody because Georgia's front is as good as you're going to find. So it's going to be a tough road, no doubt, but I think the Wolverines have a real shot, and certainly if you're willing to take the risk, you're going to get a much bigger payoff than if you go with the chalk of Alabama.
Yeah, right? It's plus 700 there on the DK Sportsbook. You got Heisman finals, Aiden Hutchinson, the Wolverines' 10th-ranked defense. Ben Rasa, man, it was so good being back together with you once again. Everybody, the sweat is back on your TV. You got the Bally Sports Networks. It's all over the country. Watch us at high noon leading up to kickoff, 1 o'clock on Sunday for all the NFL bets and DFS advice your immediate heart desires. We got a Madden Sim kicking off here with the Rams and Texans at noon. 5 o'clock edition of the Slate with Adam Kopp and Steve Buchanan and Matt LaMarca. Have a fantastic weekend. Happy bowl season.